Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Hardwood Nation podcast with your boy CL Anthony and my main man Bryce Ward. What's going on, Bryce?
Same as always, buddy. Just glad to be here, enjoying my weekend. How about you?
I've had a great week with all this NBA coverage that's going on. Literally a week and a half before Media Day, which is generally the start of training day, we had this huge bombshell drop this week. So like phone's been blowing up, Twitter's been blowing up. I've been all on YouTube watching everybody's take. And now it's time for us to give our take on it. So let's just dive into it. So last year, Baxter Holmes of ESPN dropped an article that we had got wind of earlier that it was coming. Dropped an article detailing racism and sexual misconduct within the Suns organization by their owner or governor, Robert Sarver. So I believe it was me, you, and Michael. We did a video on it. So this is going to be a follow-up video on that because there was an investigation by the NBA. Nearly almost a year later, the NBA released their results. And I have a couple of questions about this result. But before we get into that, I'm going to ask you, do you think it should have took this long? Because the report dropped last November.
I guess based on the lack of tangible, like physical evidence, like tape recordings or video recordings of audio, which from my understanding they didn't have. It was all like testimonials. Whereas what was it, the Clippers owner, they had more on him physically, what he said, I guess. I don't know. I guess that's the only thing I can think of as to why it took this long, is they were looking for more and more, and maybe they didn't find the type of evidence they wanted, even though they knew it was there. Maybe that's it.
Got it. One reason why they couldn't find it as evidence, was because Sarver had an iron grip over the HR department. So specifically when it came to the misogyny and when female employees would send things up to HR, they would magically disappear. Some were paid to stay quiet and had to sign NDAs, which they were able to circumvent during this process. So there's a lot to unpack here, and we only have an hour, so we're not going to be able to deep dive into everything. But just to give the viewers a general synopsis, the report was 43 pages long. I got through 26 pages because it was a tough read. I got through 26 pages, and within the first half of what I read, there is enough evidence to force a vote to have him removed as the owner of the Phoenix Suns. There's absolutely enough there. Is there a video recording or anything like that? No, there's not. I said that to say this. When Commissioner Stern, revealed, Commissioner Silver revealed the results of the investigation, he indicated that he does not have the power to remove a owner. He's right in a certain context, but he's grossly wrong in another, because he can He can force the vote, which the owners would then have to have a 75% percentile, either yes or no, for Sarver to be removed. Based on what you've heard, because I know we both share content with each other this week as far as different opinions. Based on what you've heard so far, do you think there is enough there to have Sarver removed?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, of course.
So I thought it was a huge mistake by Commissioner Silver to get on national TV and say that. I was literally shocked that he said that. Considering he was the commissioner presiding over the Donald Sterling situation, and it was a swift action. Within months, Sterling was out. I believe they had to vote within a couple of months of everything happening. And then, of course, once he was removed, then his wife sold the Clippers. All right. So I'm going to read this. This is from the report, but it's part of the NBA's constitution. Since they are a private entity, they have their own bylaws that they go by. So the commissioner is broadly charged with the power to investigate matters that may adversely affect the league and to make decisions regarding such matters that are in the best interest of the league, including to impose appropriate penalties. That pretty much says you can do a lot as commissioner. You can do a lot. Now, the commissioner does work for the owners. A lot of people don't know that. He works for the owners. He works for the owners' best interest. So this does put him in a bad spot. But I do believe he should have been more forceful with his words, with his actions during his press conference. And a 1-year suspension and a $10 million fine for a billionaire is absolutely a slap on the wrist, considering the multitude of infractions that took place. How do you feel about the 1-year suspension? Because remember, he's still going to get paid. He's not losing shares of the team. None of that. He just can't go to team events and shit like that. So what do you think about this 1-year suspension?
Yeah, I pretty much agree with you and what you said. Like, I think I even described it earlier in the week as it seemed like a slap on the wrist, or not a real punishment that's going to mean anything significantly. Maybe, I don't know. I just try to think of it as broadly as I can. So I try to put myself in his shoes, especially if he's working technically for the owners. Maybe he already knows it's going to get pushed to a vote. Maybe he doesn't have to do anything. I mean, it would look good in the eyes of the fans, but he's not working for the fans. The commissioners have notoriously been disliked by fans, and I know he's been able to stay away from a lot of the hate that Stern got, but Stern was one of the most hated in any league. Okay. So with that being said, though, maybe he already knows he's not going to have to do much. It's just going to get pushed there. And we've seen some players speak out, and now, I mean, I'm sure we're going to get to it. The thing that's going to really push the envelope is sponsorships and money. Mm-hmm. Once they start losing that, that's when it's going to get you're going to see some real results. So, but based on what we know and based on what you said about Silver and who he works for, and how it's I think he's saying he can't just boot him out by himself with what's given. He can start the process, but then again, the owners can kind of do that as well. So it's I just think he is taking the path of least resistance on it, and it isn't so much he's spoken on it, he's done his little bit. So in his eyes, I think he's covered his ass in a bit, but he's not as concerned about how he comes off to the fans because he doesn't have to. So he's doing his job probably correctly, and the problem is it leaves room for the other owners to be well, I can get away with stuff, and this is the fine I'll get, or this is the ballpark of where it's going to be. And so that doesn't set the greatest track record going forward, I think. But in terms of just doing his job, unfortunately, it looks like he kind of, he has. And he might not have to do as much as we would hope he would do, but I still think the end game is the same. And I think the end results will probably be the same whether or not Silver is pushing hard right now or not. But visually on us and the fans, it looks like not the greatest. So that's basically what I have to say on that one.
Yeah, and that's an absolute great take. So for our viewers, and please subscribe to the Hardwood Nation on YouTube and follow our Twitter feed at Hardwood Nation and all the other social at Hardwood Nation. For our viewers, I actually have a copy of the report up on the screen. We are not going to go over all 43 pages of this report, but just know our opinions are based on the facts and the findings that was in this legal document. All right. It is Sunday morning and I cannot talk. So I do want to read this because there was a lot of workplace misconduct. I know, Bryce, I believe you're an independent contractor. I've been in management for a very long time. There are certain rules that we have to follow and certain things that we can't do in the workplace. Would you agree with that?
Of course.
Okay. So this specifically comes from workplace policy of the Phoenix Suns. I'm just going to read a little bit of it. The workplace policy notes that prohibited harassment may include sexually tainted jokes or comments, unwelcome or unwanted sexual conduct, derogatory, vulgar, or degrading comments, the use of slurs, epithets, or gestures related to an individual's protected characteristic, sexually explicit pictures, and unwelcome physical contact. So those are just some of the things that we can't do normally at work. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm going to read something. And again, this is from this report. Sarver made a comment to a female employee about his genitalia. While preparing to take a shower at the team facility, Sarver entered an adjacent room where a male employee and a female employee were meeting. Upon seeing them, Sarver made a comment to the female employee. "You got to get out of here. You've never seen anything this big." The female employee found Sarver's comment inappropriate. We're not rocket scientists, but we both know that shouldn't be said in a workplace. Right or wrong?
Right.
Okay. Here's another instance.
He did try to. All he was doing was he tried to warn her. He said, "You gotta get out of here, man." So far, I might be on his side. I'm just joking.
You'll get us canceled. All right, here we go. Sarver once dropped his underwear and exposed his genitals to a male employee who was on his knees in front of Sarver performing a fitness check that Sarver had requested and undergone before. Past experience would have taught Sarver that dropping his underwear was unnecessary for the fitness check. The employee asked Sarver to pull his underwear back up, and Sarver did. The employee found Sarver's conduct inappropriate and recounted the incident to two other team employees. Bryce Ward, I'm pretty sure you would feel uncomfortable if I was to drop trowel in front of you while you're on your knees in front of me. Is that a correct statement?
Yeah.
Okay. And again, there's no place for that in the workplace, right?
No.
Okay. Let's see. Here's another one. And remember, I only got through half of this report. I didn't get through the second half of this report. Okay. Here's another.
Maybe it's the redeeming half.
Here's another one. Okay. Sarver once grabbed a male employee at a son's holiday party and danced pelvis to pelvis with him. The employee found Sarver's conduct unwelcome, uncomfortable, and inappropriate. I've done a lot of things in my life. I can say I have never danced pelvis to pelvis with another male in my life. I think that would make another male feel uncomfortable.
Some.
Okay.
There's some that would like it. At a party environment, the problem is you can't just grab them. That's the only, like, you can dance. Look, we can't sit here and say two guys at a party, which is a party, can't dance together, okay? But the problem is how he initiated it. If he just grabbed him, okay? You can't go around grabbing people.
I mean, Trump could. Trump just said, just grab him by the P word. You know, that's what Trump said.
Yeah, but he only got one term. He didn't even get the 2 points.
So okay.
People came down on him.
So I'm gonna wrap up this segment here really quick. Okay. So there are a couple of things that I didn't like about the report. One, ESPN refused to let Baxter Holmes interview with the NBA. ESPN and NBA are in bed with each other. They're partners. They're huge partners. And I'm like, okay, if this is the guy that originated the story, ESPN should have allowed him to speak to the NBA investigators. They did not. So that's a bad look for ESPN. Okay. Secondly, they said there was an uncredited report of N-word use. I will sit here on this podcast and tell you that's unequivocally a lie. It's not uncredited. We know who it was because the then head coach of the Phoenix Suns came out publicly and said it was him. So this report isn't uncredited as far as N-word use and things of that nature. And he told Sarver repeatedly, you can't say that word. Now, I'm going to open a can of worms here. I know some people feel like if a certain race can say a word, then they should be able to say a word too. That's just how it is. Okay, I understand that completely. I understand that mindset completely. But I think when you're telling a staffer that you're not going to hire a white coach who was there for a long time, and I'm talking about Dan Marley, who was an assistant with Phoenix Suns, and you hire Earl Watson, and your reason was, and I quote, "These niggers need a niggers to coach them." That's pretty damning. I mean, let's just be real about it. Now, some of the other times the N word was used, he would say, "Well, I was just repeating what they were saying, and it's not fair that they can say it and I can't say it." This is in the report. But to say niggers need a nigger to coach them, that's horrible. And even though we don't have video evidence of it, and even though the report says it's an uncredited report, Earl Watson came out on TV and put his name on it and put his face on it and said that was it.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to call into question not the findings of the report, but the wording of the report, because they did try to soften the blow for Robert Sarver. Mm-hmm. And that, to me, is inexcusable. Absolutely inexcusable. So
yeah, I agree.
I'm just saying. There's tons more that we're not going to get into today. But I do want to ask you, I know you read LeBron James' very strong response. And let me take this moment to grandstand and clap, because I do appreciate and stand with LeBron James on this. It was the first time I was like, fuck yes, absolutely, LeBron got this one right. How do you feel about the immediacy of the statement? Because it was very quick, and the strength of his statement.
I think it was spot on. Look, I say this every time we talk about these kind of topics, especially in today's environment, today's fan bases, and just social media in general. A lot of people look to these athletes for a response. LeBron James might be the biggest example of this almost in all of sports right now, in terms of like how much people look at just him for his sport and how much impact he has. But you're not going to get it right every time. That's just the way it is, especially if you're going to comment on these things and they're important issues. There's a lot of people that would try to go back and forth on this all day. But he comes out with a statement. Even when he comes out later and readdresses other things, like he did when he was talking about Brittany Griner, and he kind of made a statement, came back and made another statement to correct it in a way, or either way, we look at these people for their opinions and their takes, and they tried the best. And but he was dead spot on with this one. I feel like we pretty much agreed with that. And yeah, kudos for coming out and making those comments, because everyone is looking for his opinion with his standing in the league, as well as Chris Paul's opinion. There's a few people we're looking at to see what they have to say. So no, I mean, I'm all for it. Like I said, right or wrong, it's I think this is what we look for. So yeah.
Well, our viewers can see on the screen that I have LeBron's comment here, and look, he said he read it 3 times. Kudos to him for reading this shit 3 times. Okay, I couldn't even get through it 1 time. Kudos to him for reading it 3 times if he actually read it. But what I loved about this is, one, the immediacy of it, and then also the line here: there's no place for misogyny, sexism, and racism in any workplace. It don't matter if you own a team or play for the team. We hold our league up as an example of our values, and this ain't it. I absolutely love that, because those 2 sentences cover everything in this report. It just wasn't the racist shit. It was the misogyny. Me
Mhm.
and you both have daughters, and like I said, I didn't get into everything. This dude berated women. He talked down to women who were pregnant. Um, Purposely made women cry. Had a fucking seminar where all his women employees could come together, so the older women employees could tell the younger ones coming up how to deal with a guy like him. But where did they do this at? It was absolute disgusting. And I'm telling you, I was appalled at all the infractions that I read. I was, if you got to sign non-disclosure agreements, that's
Yeah,
an issue upon itself.
yeah, something's wrong.
Something's wrong. Something is absolutely wrong. Um, so Chris Paul, the former president of the Players Association, also dropped some tweets about the situation. Now, to me, Chris Paul gave like a general statement. It wasn't as specific as LeBron James' statement. And I may be in a minority, but I wanted Chris Paul to be stronger since he's playing there.
Mm-hmm.
What? Okay, I know we spoke about it slightly earlier, but he mentioned this conduct, especially towards women, is unacceptable and must never be repeated. He didn't call for his head. He didn't mention some of the racist comments. So, what do you think about some of the things that Chris Paul left out? Because I just think he left out a little too much. Like, if you're gonna say something,
Yeah.
say you want this guy done, right? I it just I'm not gonna say it rubbed me the wrong way, but it was just a little shocking that he wasn't as forceful as LeBron, considering he's closer to it than LeBron is.
Yeah, and I don't know, maybe that's the only reason he didn't, is maybe there's something we don't know that keeps him from being able to say that. I mean, I doubt it. I just think it's Chris Paul, like, with like a half measure of a response. So like,
Mhm.
I just try to, like I said, I'm not like condemning him, because it, it is what it is. It's just like I
Right.
try to think of maybe there's something we don't know still, because it seems like, especially after you see LeBron James's response, it's like, it's just not enough. It just doesn't look like enough. And like you said, you play for the team, so maybe that's why. But from how we see it, that should create more outrage. Like, you're the one that really has to be in this negative environment, and the part that directly affects you, like, he didn't reference. You know, the misogyny doesn't involve him. But the culture of the way the team is handled, there is a word that affects him on that
Mhm.
end, and he didn't mention that. So
He
that's the
did.
odd part. It's like, if you're gonna go ahead and call him out, or call out the situation, go ahead and you're gonna mention one aspect of it. Go ahead and mention the rest, because otherwise it seems like you're intentionally avoiding it, which seems
Yes.
odd.
And, and considering he was there when Sterling got taken down. It's you were there. It's like this is like deja vu to you. I would have expected him to be more of the forceful one. I would okay. My
He's just getting
expectation
used to it. He's just getting used to it. So he's like, whatever, man. They're all like this, I guess.
my expectation initially before LeBron James released a statement would have been they would have flip flopped. I would have expected LeBron James to say what Chris Paul did and Chris Paul to say what LeBron James did. So that's why it was just so like Jamal Crawford, who played for Phoenix and played for the Clippers. He was there for. He was like, I've seen this shit before. It's just like he was like Sterling 2.0. He actually tweeted that out,
Mm.
and then it blew my mind that Chris Paul wasn't so forceful. It's blown my mind that Monty Williams hasn't said anything. It blows my mind that James Jones, the general manager of the Phoenix Suns, hasn't said anything. And the report did tout this, that the Phoenix Suns has the highest African American hire rate than any other team in the league. They made sure they pointed that out, and then right after that, oh yeah, but he said the N word here, here, here.
What's crazy though is, like, we're not hearing about that. Like, we're not hearing about people speaking up like that. But finally, was their jersey sponsor decide to pull out? of the
Mhm.
sponsorship, right?
Yeah, PayPal. Yeah.
PayPal, yeah, that's massive to me, a
Mhm.
massive sign. So you have, and look, I know it's a lot of positioning, and it's a whole different topic that we don't cover, but PayPal as a corporation stepping out because of these accusations. A corporation speaking up more than individuals, I think it's an odd look in itself. Because PayPal, by pulling out, is speaking up based on what we know. So it's just odd that like a corporation is upholding certain values by pulling out, whereas we're not hearing the individual testimonies as much, or the people actually in the organization coming out and speaking up as much. So it's just odd. Like the Chris Paul situation is like he should maybe have the loudest voice,
Right.
or the coach, and you said you're not hearing from him at all. And it's just odd to me.
Yeah. I'm happy that you mentioned PayPal because they're based in Phoenix, where Michael is. Michael used to work for Phoenix. Excuse me, work for PayPal. And Michael texted me and said, I'm proud of my former company for stepping up and doing something.
Hmm.
I've mentioned this before. I'm not going to say Commanders, I was a Washington Redskin fan. And I was appalled when they changed the name. So people can shoot bullets at me all they want, I don't care. I was appalled when they changed the name. Because for years, the owner said he would never change the name. For years. He even had it back in the NFL. They're like, because believe it or not, the commissioner of the NFL grew up a Redskin fans. So he had all the backing of the NFL that they're not going to change that name. The minute the sponsors started pulling their money, that name changed. The minute. Okay? So I haven't heard of any other sponsors as of yet, but PayPal is a pretty big sponsor considering their patch is on the Phoenix
Yeah,
Suns jerseys. Now
yeah,
it will remain on the jerseys for this season, but what they're saying is if he is allowed to return next season when his suspension is up, then they're going to pull their money, and their patches and shit off of the Suns jerseys. So that's what they're speaking of. So this year you're going to see it. Next year you may have some problems.
mhm,
And then also the second biggest shareholder for the Suns, pretty much the number two guy, was like, yeah, this guy has been gone. And he was like, I don't even want the job, but he has to go.
mhm.
I think that's damning too. Because at least he's trying to protect the integrity of the franchise and the league. I don't think this guy can step foot back in the Phoenix Suns facilities ever again. Um, but before I ask you this, how did you feel about the president, excuse me, the executive director of the Players Association saying what she said as far as the majority of the players want him out as well? How do you feel about that strong statement? Because she came out firing.
Well, I mean, I'm glad she did because it gives us an insight into the players, which seems like their opinion, which
Mm,
seems, massively important to me. It's essentially like you have to take into account like the optics of what your business is. All right, you own a sport. Your business is a basketball team. Who plays basketball? The majority of them that are professional are African American, black. 95%. It's high, right?
I think it's like 90.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And to to have these reports of this word you're using, and you're describing the players as this, you're describing the coach as this, you're saying they need this type of coach. This is the language you're using. Um I can't express like the backwards nature and how gross the business feels when you look at it that way, because it makes you feel, especially with this business, that it's a type of reenacting a slave trade,
Mm,
because you have a powerful white guy doing whatever he wants. And so until we can snuff that out, it's really damning, especially in this specific sports league, because of who is employed by it.
mhm.
You have to take that into account because it's so present. You have to take into account what it looks like because it can sway really quickly the other way. And you can't afford to make it look like that, because that's such an atrocious part of our history. You can't just brush over it, and you have to really be careful how you handle yourself. And for him to have that language come out of his mouth, and to have a certain percentage of African Americans working for you and women, and to have all that language come out of your mouth, it's inexcusable. It lets everyone underneath you who's just like you know that they can do the same thing, even if that's not in them. The culture of the place, it gets into people, and that's the wrong direction that we want to go in. Like I said, especially in a business where the partnership with the people is so important. There's just no excuse. There's no excuse. There's no way to justify it. Everything, it's not enough of a punishment. That kind of culture, that kind of person needs to be out of the league. You can't afford to let owners have this kind of attitude. You just can't afford to, because it sets the game back, and it sets culture back. It's wrong in every aspect.
Yeah.
So I'm glad this broke out, and I'm glad we know the player, how they feel.
It is wrong. It is disgusting. I joke a lot offline saying I'm an equal opportunity offender. Robert Sarver is an equal opportunity offender. He's offended women. He's offended African Americans. He's offended men that work for him. Like, he's covered all the bases over his tenure as the governor of the Phoenix Suns. And at some point, it has to stop. And hopefully this is that point where it stops. Do you think we're going to have the same conversation next year? Or do you think Sarver is going to be forced out?
No, I think this will be the road to the end for him.
Okay. The beginning of the end.
I hope so, but that's where my gut is telling me it's going.
Mm-hmm. I hope that you're right. I hope that we have that outcome. I hope the other owners step up and do what's right, because we cannot, as you said, have this kind of derogatory leadership anywhere, but most importantly in a league that we both love. And all my management stops, because God knows it's been a lot, and all my management stops on day one, they go over with you, conduct policy, sexual harassment policy, things of that nature. Everyone knows how to conduct themselves as an adult in the workplace. Have I said crude jokes in the workplace? You best believe it. But it was with someone who I knew wasn't offended. I wouldn't just run up to someone and say a crude joke, or run up to someone and speak about the size of my genitalia. One, my wife would kill me, but two, I would lose my job. Okay? And that's just me being transparent. This kind of stuff is disgusting. And like LeBron said, it doesn't matter if you're the owner or the player or the employee. This shouldn't happen in any workplace. And once again, I give tremendous kudos to LeBron for his statement, because I stand with him 100%. So as much as I've killed him on this podcast, I'm applauding him today. So with that said, we're going to wrap it up, Bryce. So we're in agreement that we would like to see Sarver gone.
Yeah, there's no room for that. There's no room.
Yeah.
But I mean, we need something to talk about this week. It's in the midst of like the desert in terms of NBA season. So we've had stories every week to keep us going. This one's just another one.
Uh-oh, Sonny J.
Yo, what's going on, y'all?
Good to see you, Sonny J.
Welcome back.
We got some funny times going on. A lot of people getting caught up now. So we gotta see if Adam's gonna actually come through and do his job or not.
So let's start with this, Josh. Me and Bryce just went through some stuff, but me and you can go through some stuff again if Bryce has to jump off soon. What was your initial response to this report coming out?
This is Sarver's comments and everything that's been going on for the past like 18 so years, right?
Yeah, that.
All right, yeah. So
Mhm.
my initial reaction to this is just another one gets caught, another one bites the dust, man. Look, this isn't anything new, right? We know, especially when it comes to certain big money in certain positions, we know certain circles. I'm not saying everybody's, whatever up there, but you know that when we're talking about team owners, like this is big money at this point, right? So like there's certain ways that they deal with and communicate and talk to people and just different things in general, and they haven't been checked for a long time, then yeah, as you know, that can definitely spin into a weird direction there. I guess my initial reaction was like, way to keep yourself together. I mean, it is a lot. It's very shocking, honestly, though, that it just went on for so long. Um, and it does show how much protection that the NBA does put over these owners, especially right now. Because again, it went on for so long. Like you had, especially the times we live in now. You say anything, you get in trouble for anything these days. So for something like that to happen with the NBA for that many years, it's like, come on. All right. So I'm glad it happened. A lot of people are saying that the initial suspension ruling wasn't enough. I personally don't think so either. If you got away with this for 18 years, what's 10 million in 1 year going to do for you if you're an owner of a team? So,
Mhm.
my initial reactions was yes, but is it enough? That's my reaction on that.
Got it. Yeah. So we're all in agreement that it's definitely not enough. I know I sent you some of the document, but that was a tough read. Were you actually able to get through some of it?
I'm gonna be honest. I didn't get to go through that. As far as the agreement, the 43-page
Right.
agreement. Yeah, I didn't get to go through that. But as far as like the intricacies of how like what they're able to actually get him on versus what they're not, is that kind of what they got to, or?
Well, yeah. Well, they interviewed, I believe, over like 150 people, and they detailed some. Like, okay, so the TV interviews that we saw on ESPN all week gave you surface level stuff. Okay, the
Mhm.
document gave you specifics of what was going on. So, like something I detailed with Bryce earlier was him grabbing a male employee and dancing pelvis to pelvis to this male employee at a party that made the male employee feel uncomfortable, or him
Okay.
bragging about the size of his genitalia to a female and making a joke about it, a female that worked under him, or him dropping his pants and exposing his genitalia to a male employee who was conducting a fitness check.
Oh,
So,
He's proud of himself.
so he was
right.
on both teams. Okay.
Yeah, so like we said, he was an equal opportunity offender. Okay, so
Mhm.
he covered all bases, and then
Mhm.
specifically his use of the N word, where he would say, "Well, I'm just repeating what they are saying."
What they say, yep.
Correct.
Yeah, you know the deal.
So so we went through that, but like I told Bryce, the report listed it as uncredited use of the N word in specific situations, but that was a lie because Earl Watson came out last year and said, he said this, I'm the coach he was referring to, yada, yada, yada. So it wasn't uncredited. That was bullshit.
Yeah.
Baxter Holmes, that wrote the article, the initial article, ESPN wouldn't allow him to interview with the NBA. Now think about that. Think about how suspect that is. They wouldn't let the guy who broke the story interview for the investigation.
Right.
So, and that was detailed in this report. So there's still shenanigans behind the scenes that's going on that doesn't add up some of those protections that you spoke of. It's bullshit.
Yeah. Yeah. So the man's clearly getting protected. We know this. I mean, even Adam Silver's whole press, like he was very like, what do I compare it to? All right. So you remember when oh god, what was it? There was like a huge protest. I don't remember if it was somewhere in North Carolina, where the guy drove the Challenger through the crowd of
Yeah,
people.
Charlottesville.
Yeah, Charlottesville. All right. So, and you had Trump come out after that and be like, "There's good people on both sides, and there's no bad person." That's what we got going on right now, where Adam Silver just doesn't really know, or maybe doesn't want to point the finger. You saw he's talking about, oh, yo, I know more than the average person will, and I'm gonna make my decision based upon what I've seen and la 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 la. It's like, okay, that's fine, but we know enough to know that you need to make a decision. And I feel like it is a tough decision. You don't really know what's going on in those circles. You don't know. A lot of us don't really know the complete ramifications. What would happen if he does get banned for life? I mean, again, who gets a team, all this and that. There's probably a bunch of stuff that we don't know that goes into that, which is probably influencing his, delayed response and this type of thing. But I mean, you have Chris Paul, the president of the Players Association, come out. You got LeBron also tweet certain things. It draws a lot of attention, and that may bring needed attention to pressure Adam Silver to maybe bring a harsher stance on this, because again, you saw PayPal come out and pull their deal with that, as far as the patch partnership. So I mean, maybe just more needs to happen, as far as actual money coming into that specific building. But I think that Adam Silver's been a little lax with the decision making.
Yeah. So what he can do is he can force the owners to vote, and then 75% of the owners or the owners would have to vote yes or no to keeping him or removing him. Joshua, do me a quick favor. If you can see the screen, read that very first paragraph. That's all I need you to read on that.
The investigation did not substantiate ESPN's report, attributed to a high-level executive who heard the remark that Sarver once used the N-word when trying to explain to a staff why he preferred hiring a black head coach. In 2013, alleged saying these N-words needed. Oh,
yeah. So, as I was explaining to Bryce earlier, and thank you for reading that, that's enough right there.
That's it. Pull the trigger. Jesus.
That's enough right there. And again, I only read through the first 26 pages. I don't even want to know what's in the rest of the damn thing. Okay.
Has CJ McCollum come out and spoken on it at all? Has he tweeted
Not that
about
I've seen. Yeah, CJ right now is the current president of the Players Association.
Oh, really? Okay.
And I haven't seen that he's come out. I can actually take a look real quick just to see if he has come out and said something. Josh, me and Bryce talked about this earlier, the difference between Chris Paul's and LeBron James's statements. Do you think Chris Paul missed the mark with his? Because I kind of think he did.
I got a little more. I guess it was more satisfying to read LeBron's than Chris Paul's. I get that. With Chris Paul's though, I do feel like it was more blanketed, the whole thing, rather than like straight to each point. I felt like Chris Paul's tweet kind of circled the deal rather than actually went to it in detail like LeBron's did, as far as listing specific things that went on. As far as that goes, again, LeBron is going to put out that type of message, it's coming. But I felt like, again, maybe Chris Paul, he's not the president anymore, so maybe he kind of holds back a little bit, like you just said. But I don't know. I felt like it was kind of in the middle. I did lean on more on the LeBron side of things. I felt like, again, it was more direct. But I felt, just by some of the wording that Chris Paul used, it was a little more blanket response. Like, all right, it's like I have to respond to this kind of deal rather than I want to respond to this.
Yeah.
I think that was kind of what that was.
I was telling Bryce earlier, I thought the statement that Chris Paul released would have been the LeBron James statement, and then LeBron James's would have been Chris Paul's statement, considering this is the second time Chris Paul has been through something like this. And he's at ground zero. He's there, right? So I thought he would have been more forceful with it. We haven't heard from Monty Williams. We haven't heard from James Jones. We're not going to hear from Devin Booker because we know he's blinded. Really quick, CJ hasn't said anything on Twitter about it as of yet. So I just thought Chris Paul would have had the stronger of the two, him and LeBron's statement. But I did give kudos to LeBron because I absolutely loved it and stand with him on this. And I never compliment LeBron. So I had to throw that out there.
There's that. I mean, no, it's again, I mean, I get it though, Chris Paul, he's in the place where it's right there in front of him, and he's probably trying to protect himself in some way, shape, or form, because it is an ugly situation at the end of the day. Then you got LeBron, who's completely out of the situation, that can voice his opinion however he wants, because again, he's nothing that's not going to touch him in any way, shape, or form. So you do have that. So I will give Chris Paul that benefit. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, we know that the Players Association did come out and say they do want him banned for life. I think that may end up happening. If not now, maybe as things start to progress on, we're about to hit the season, not too far away from now. So you never know. Maybe as time goes on, see how this thing shapes up, and he may end up seeing the door. But the problem is the fact that if it's not like an all out like forcing like the Donald Sterling deal was, then if it's up to the boys that are, the owners that are all voting on it, we know how the tight circles run. So it's going to be kind of tough. But again, hopefully more players voice their opinion about it, more social awareness becomes of this, and then you pressure Adam Silver to actually make that type of decision. Or I don't know. That's kind of the way I see it.
Bryce, before you jump off, if you're the players, do you sit?
I don't. Maybe you kneel.
They've done that before.
I just want to see basketball so bad, man. I want to see basketball so bad. I don't know. Maybe they put something over the Suns' name on their jersey. Maybe just play with the name on the back.
Sonny J, do you sit?
You may. I mean, maybe who's to say? We don't just stay in the locker room for game one. I'm just saying.
Opening week. I'm just saying. Opening week. All eyes are going to be on the NBA.
That's a statement.
It's a statement. It's a statement.
Hey, this is not a political American military disrespecting. This is literally a man who broke all the rules for 18 years, and everybody just wants to see this man get his due.
Yeah,
I feel like you shouldn't get that much backlash. You know what I'm saying? Like again, though, you always gotta play both sides. I don't know. I personally tell them, maybe game one, maybe sit that one out. Yeah. They force them to make a decision because now you're impacting money coming in, and I feel like that's the only way to really get to these guys at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So maybe you do force them to have to refund people, or so that might be the one way the players can get that done. They've done in the past. So
sometimes you have to burn down the establishment. So with all the TV money and everything, if they were to sit, let's just say opening week, ring ceremony night, the Warriors and the Lakers, right? Perfect opportunity considering now they have 3 weeks to plan it. Well, more than 3 weeks to plan it out. Go through preseason status quo shit, yada, yada, yada. Championship night, ring ceremony night, bam, don't come out. ESPN's going to shit on themselves, but that's what they get for not letting Baxter Holmes speak to the NBA, right? I'm just saying. I'm just saying. If it was me, if I'm Steph Curry and LeBron James on that game, I'm not coming out. I'm tired of shirts. No disrespect, Bryce. I'm tired of shirts. I'm tired of covering up patches. I'm tired of all that. I'm tired of kneeling. I'm tired of it.
Just boycott the Suns arena. The Suns can play away games, and no team wants to go to Phoenix. That's a statement right there.
Oh, no team flying to Phoenix. Oh my gosh. Yo, that would get he get banned for life on that one. 2 times, and that would be it.
That's a good one.
It. I was like, that way we still get basketball, but it sends a message. There we go.
That's a real good one, Bryce. Yeah.
Very strong message.
Yeah. This has been like, it's sad that it happened when it happened, but it kind of breathed life into the NBA right when things were trailing down as far as media coverage before they picked back up, for training camp, because media day is a couple of weeks away. But we kind of needed this, the light of fire, and to showcase a truth, the ugly truth that a lot of people still don't want to admit. Just the other day, I had an incident where I had to say some vulgarities to a young man because he thought he could say something to me because I was black. That's the only. He wouldn't have said it to me if I was white, and I let him have it, and I wasn't ashamed of what I said. So it happens every day, And when we have a league that we love, we have to defend that league, but we have to get rid of these bad people in order to do so. So, and if it was Josh, don't kill me for this. If this was Mickey Arison, I would say the exact same thing that I'm saying now, and I would be just as strong as that I am now. Thank God it's not, but if it was, I would be feeling the same way.
I'd have to keep the same energy.
Yes,
it would hurt, but I'd have to keep.
It would hurt.
It would hurt, bro.
It really would hurt. Yeah.
Like, oh, Mickey, no. Like, yeah, like it's like one of the worst. Like, that's just like something you completely do not expect at all for Mickey Erickson. I hope that's not the case. You got too many. No, I don't think that's the case. But I hold my tongue on that one.
Any last thoughts, Bryce?
No, that's it. I think we pretty much covered it. Got our point across.
All right. Any last thoughts, Josh?
I think we'll probably see an overwhelming decision coming to this thing pretty soon here. And then again, like you just said, it's good for the media, so they may drag this one out just to keep things going until probably early quarter point of the season.
Yeah,
before an actual decision is made, because who knows? This may be good for everybody at the end of the day. Unfortunately,
get those eyeballs on.
Right.
Controversy creates cash.
Perfect time. Perfect time for it.
But that's what it does. So, Joshua, tell the people where they can see you at.
All right, guys. So you can catch us on Doubted Views. You see it above me. We are YouTube channel. You got Twitter. You can also catch us on Instagram as well. I know that again, YouTube is where most of it is, but we also do shorts. We do as far as voiceovers, we cover entertainment, sometimes politics when it's needed, sports in general, sometimes. But we like to find the story of things in the doubted viewpoint of certain stories. So you can find us again on YouTube at Doubted Views.
And you can find us on our socials at Hardwood Nation and everything. Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. Did I leave one out? Instagram that I never use. Thank you, Josh. What's up, Bryce?
You're on Spotify now?
Yeah, Spotify, iTunes. Yeah, we out there. We out
everywhere.
there. Yeah. Thank you guys for joining us this week. We are out.
See ya.